أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلى الله على النبي الكريم. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the Excellencies of the governors here present, my most distinguished brothers, the traditional rulers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. I'd like to begin my keynote address by expressing my utmost thanks to Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our creator, our sustainer, and our protector, for bringing us together to witness the all-important National Security Summit taking place here in Abuja, our federal capital. I would like to see this opportunity of our gathering to once again offer our condolences to the families and the governments of Osun State and Borno State for losing our dear brother, the Oni of Ife, and the Deputy Governor of Borno State. Oni was a very strong pillar to our institution in this country, and we'll surely miss him. I wish to extend our deep appreciation to His Excellency the President, Muhammadu Buhari, for personally being here, and that showed his commitment to providing security for every citizen of this country, and for the strength of commitment and clarity of vision to rebuilding our national institutions and rekindling our hopes for a greater tomorrow. We must also express our thanks to the Inspector General of Police for his kind invitation to this seminar in collaboration with the Sound Publishing Company, and also for requesting me to deliver this keynote address, which is supposed to set the ball rolling. This summit couldn't have come at a better time than now, especially at this crucial time when the nation, under the indefatigable leadership of Mr. President, is engaged in fighting insurgency and terrorism in the Northeast and sanitizing the various facets of our national life. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the governors here present, heads of security agencies, Your Royal Highnesses, the last few years had undoubtedly been a very trying period for this country. Blood had been shed with impunity and careless abandon. Lives have been lost, livelihoods have been shattered, and entire community had been dislocated. It is essential for the stakeholders to ensure that we develop effective partnership that would move this nation forward. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I would like to state without any equivocation that our traditional institutions had for several centuries, and I can say long before the present Nigeria came into being, played a very significant role in maintenance of peace and order and the security management of our respective communities. Law and order was maintained through a variety of measures that were peculiar to each state and society, including religious sanction, establishment of law enforcement agencies, as well as community-specific actions such as boycott and banishment of people. The Kano Constitution of the 1940s was one of the early documents that spelled out the various personnel required in the maintenance of law and order, including intelligence officers, police officers, night patrolmen, as well as security guards in an intelligence-driven security environment. It is important to remember the words of the Kano Constitution when it stated that, I quote, "The ruler should find out about the enemy condition through trusted spies at all times, peace or war, so that nothing of the enemy's activities shall be hidden from him at any moment. For he who is ignorant about something is also blind to it, while he who can see can defeat 1,000 blind men, unquote. With the advent of Sokoto Caliphate at the beginning of the 19th century, the security architecture, especially in the northern parts of the country, underwent substantial change. One of the earliest instructions of the founder of the Caliphate, Sheikh Uthman bin Fodio, to his lieutenants was on the appointment of state offices. The first three that he mentioned were an upright prime minister over the wilaya who wakens him, but the ruler, if he sleeps, gives him sight if he cannot see, and reminds him if he forgets. The second support is a chief judge who is not restrained by anyone's censure in upholding God's law. The third pillar of sovereignty is a just chief of police who ensures that the weak obtain justice from the powerful. The conceptual basis of the state and human security in the Sokoto Caliphate, besides the setting up of police force, was predicated on three other pillars. The first pillar was the issue of justice and fairness to all. For Sheikh Uthman bin Fodio believed that one of the key foundations of good governance is justice. His son and Lieutenant Sheikh Muhammad Bello was equally emphatic that there can be no development without justice, for justice is the basis of all progress. The second pillar of which the Sokoto Caliphate leaders considered important in ensuring human and state security was the issue of socio-economic development of a people. Sultan Muhammad Bello was very emphatic about this issue when he stated that the sixth principle of governance is that the ruler should provide work for the people of his state. For this purpose, he shall foster the artisans and be concerned with tradesmen. They include farmers, smiths, tailors, dyers, physicians, grocers, butchers, and all sorts of traders, which contribute to stabilize the proper order of the world. He must keep villages and the countryside peopled, construct fortresses and bridges, and maintain markets and roads, and realize for them all what are of public interest, unquote. The third pillar, which I wish to emphasize here, is the fight against corruption. At an early stage of the caliphate, its leaders realized that they needed honest persons at all levels to be able to establish a decent state. Leaders, according to Sultan Muhammad Bello, are like a spring of water, and all your officials are like water wheels. If the spring is pure, the fields of the water wheels cannot harm it. If, on the other hand, the spring is polluted, the purity of the water wheels will have little effect on the purity of water. And I can rightly say, Alhamdulillah, in Mr. President, we have also a pure spring as our president. On his employees, the ruler was urged by the caliphate leaders to estimate their wealth before appointing them and should watch their conduct at all times. He shall confiscate whatever is in excess of their legitimate income, and if in doubt, confiscate half of it. To his subjects, he will be as the shepherd of a flock among ravening lions, for from evil employees proceed all manner of corruption in every land. On bribery and gift-taking, Sheikh Abdullah bin Fodio could not be more emphatic, as he said, Another thing agreed upon as being illegal is the collection of bribes on behalf of the leader or other officials like the judges and other employees. It is also illegal to accept gifts from the common people, for such action is the door leading to all types of calamities. Where a gift finds its way to a man of authority, justice and goodness will find their way out of him. And what he does, it is to purchase for himself a place in hell. Mr. President, we are 100% in support of you, of your fight against corruption in this country. And it's our belief that all those found guilty should not only have their entire assets seized and forfeited to government, but also face jail sentences. Mr. President, Your Excellency, distinguished guests, it's also important for us to state that even after the advent of British colonialism, traditional leaders continue to be accorded a pride of place in the management of security. The formation of a modern police force, the Native Authority Police Force, was created to the Egba United Government under the Alake in 1905, which was followed a year later by the Ibadan Council in 1906. Subsequent Native Authority police formations were patterned along these styling two examples, but all closely associated with or supervised in both the western and northern provinces by traditional councils. In many provinces of the north, the police liaison officer scheme among traditional title holders was also instituted. My father, late Sultan of Abubakar, served as one of such liaison officers in Sokoto from 1931 until he became the Sultan of Sokoto. And I even went to Kaduna, the Sultan said, Sultan Abubakar said, I even went to Kaduna for formal police training so that I could liaise with the police more efficiently. In other places like the northern part of Nigeria, sons of emirs had actually commanded the police forces. The late Emir Osman Nagogo and also the late Lamid of Adamawa were clear examples who were chief of police before ascending to the throne of their forefathers. Same thing in the south. There are so many of our traditional leaders who have been in the military or police or other paramilitary agencies. There are so many, if I'm to announce them, this hall will be filled with them. But alhamdulillah, so many of them are here. I can see the Oba of Lagos, former AIG. I thought, and he's wearing blue, so as to be like his police colleagues. And also the Alake, who was once a soldier, and so many of us that have been in the uniform, some of us for over 31 years of our lives, and therefore we don't know anything but to work for security. So IG, I'm telling you, you are very lucky for this program. We will also venture to ask what really contributed to the success of traditional institutions in managing security. Firstly, we should state that the majority of the members of our communities shared in the subsisting values which subordinated individual and private interest to the general interest of the society. Regardless of how many mosques and churches you have built, the town halls you have constructed, and the charitable causes you have sponsored, the community will still wish to know the source of your wealth. The respectability you desire could only be conferred when the legitimacy of these sources are certified. Secondly, the vast networks and extensive nature of the traditional governance system, including emirates, districts, officials, towns, villages, ward heads, obas, obis, and so on, with a plethora of title officials, lend itself to effective security monitoring. Strangers are hosted and scrutinized, residents are assured, and criminals and troublemakers are closely monitored and quickly apprehended the moment they became a security menace. The system has worked to keep the peace in our communities for several centuries. They could still be beneficial if appropriately integrated into the current mechanism of our security management in Nigeria. Mr. President, may I crave your indulgence to conclude with some remarks on this important discourse we are having today. Firstly, we should face the task of reforming and repositioning the Nigerian police force and other security agencies to ensure that our security agencies truly become 21st century organizations able to discharge their mandates effectively and efficiently. We should be able to cater to their operational needs and to the welfare of their members, so that when we state that they serve and protect, we should mean it by word and deed. Like we all know, they say the slogan, police is your friend. So let's make sure that police is our friend and is serving and protecting us. Secondly, we should endeavor to build sturdy bridges and bridge the gap between our security agencies and our communities. The record of our recent past is before us and shall serve as a true guide to the future. But we should also learn from our past and avoid expediency. Whatever we do should be meaningful and sustainable. Thirdly, the Nigerian police force and other national agencies must join the crusade against corruption. Regardless of how well trained and equipped an organization is, it cannot attain its full potential if it allows corruption and corrupt elements to grace its corridors. Those who conspire to corrupt our national institutions from the outside must face the same consequences as those who do it from within. And finally, Mr. President, I wish to call upon you, as the leader of this great country, to institute a national integrity plan for this country as soon as feasible, which we believe shall refocus our ethical, moral, and spiritual energies and the indomitable spirit of our people into building a peaceful, prosperous, and democratic country which shall take its pride of place in the Community of Nations. I pray this summit will not go in the same way others before it did, just a talk shop that failed to implement its desired outcome. We believe it's a challenge to all of us, and I also believe we can rise to the occasion because Mr. President has proved to us he is ready to bring peace to our country. May Almighty Allah bless our country and bless our leadership. I thank you all for listening and wish us fruitful deliberations at this summit. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.